In an emergency, quick thinking can save a life. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of people in jeopardy and the men and women who come to their aid on Rescue 911.
Hey, Daddy.
We begin in the Pecos wilderness near Taos, New Mexico.
We didn't really have to have any maps or anything out to know where we were going.
Ingrid and Michael Graves had spent the morning hiking with their 3 children.
And the kids started getting slow and pokey, and Christopher decided that he was hot. So I took his sweatshirt from him, and I put it in my backpack.
By 1 p.m., Michael was far up the trail. Ingrid had stayed back with the kids.
I decided that the way to speed them up was to walk a little ways in front of them.
Uncle, look.
The problem with being in the mountains is that when things are going well, the mountains are your friend. When things are not going well, the mountains are scary, because all of a sudden you're working against them. They're your enemy. And that day, the mountains were my enemy. I ducked into the woods because I was going to let the kids go by me and I was going to surprise them. And my kids went by. There was Ann and Emily and, Christopher.
Where's Christopher? Emily, go get your dad. Go get Dad, hurry up. Stay on the trail, okay? Go get Dad, quickly, and come back down here, okay? Hurry up!
I ran down the trail, and there was no Christopher. And I kept thinking to myself, he has to be here someplace. This just isn't happening. He's here someplace.
Chris! Chris!
Where's Mom?
Emily and Ann caught up and said, Dad, we've lost Christopher. Christopher's gone.
No.
He was lost with only Levi's on and T-shirt and shoes and socks. He didn't have anything to eat. He didn't have any clothing. We had no idea which way he headed.
Christopher!
As Ingrid continued her search, Michael and the girls drove back to their cabin to call for help. By late afternoon, there was still no sign of Christopher.
It was the worst experience I've ever gone through in my life. Your mind wants you to give up. Your mind wants you to say, you'll never find him again. It'll never happen. But in the back of my mind, nothing would let me give up. In the back of my mind, I knew if I gave up and if I lost hope, he would never come back. He would never be found.
Michael brought the police to where the day's hike had begun.
We ran the siren on the patrol car in hopes that Chris would hear it and come down to the siren.
I thought it was an ambulance, and the first person I saw was one of the highway patrolmen. And I started crying, and he said, well, we'll find your son. Don't worry, we'll find your son. And I thought to myself, yes, but will he be alive?
By 6:30 p.m., search and rescue teams began arriving on the scene. Their search plans were organized by field coordinator Ray Piper.
It's about 11,000 feet where he was at, and it is very, very cold up there. And he was not prepared to be out any time at all in this kind of weather. So the boy was in very immediate danger.
They searched into the night as temperatures dropped below freezing. In spite of the cold, more volunteers continued to arrive, including Jim Dixon.
We searched for a number of hours, calling, getting no response, no answer. And you feel the time running out. You feel it becoming more and more critical. But as long as you're active, as long as you're looking, there's a chance. And none of us were ready to go back, leaving the 5-year-old boy in that cold and that terrain. We weren't ready to give it up.
When we continued,
the feeling was right between two extremes, between tremendous elation that, yes, I found him, and that, oh, my God, it might be too.
Since 5-year-old Chris Graves had disappeared in the wilderness, wearing only jeans and a T-shirt. Night had fallen, and the temperature would soon drop below freezing.
Christopher's family could do nothing but wait.
I remember praying to God and saying, please, please, find him. I don't think that I ever stopped praying.
At 2:30 a.m., Jim Dixon's team was told to head back to base camp.
It was unbelievably cold. And we were looking at a topographic map, figuring out a way that we could make a return run somewhat productive. And there was this spot, and I can't speak for anyone else, but there was a feeling. We started the sweep. I was on the outside, and I heard something that at first I thought was some sort of bird. It was a strange sound, not quite human. There in the light of my head beam was Christopher, trapped in the stream, frozen in bad shape.
Team leader Del Dubois immediately radioed the base camp.
When we found him, there was a sudden release of tension and a large release of adrenaline. But we weren't sure that he was going to make it. We didn't know for sure that he was. Just because we had found him, that didn't mean it was going to be a happy ending. With hypothermia victims, the most important thing is to warm them up right away. And body-to-body contact is a prescribed method for treating hypothermia in the field.
We're monitoring. Put your hand on his heart and count out loud for me, will you?
It was like a block of ice, like a piece of cold granite, colder than any human being should ever become. The feeling was right between two extremes, between tremendous elation that, yes, I found him, and that, oh my God, it might be too late.
I didn't know what I was going to find at that door. And the lady that came up to I opened the door and she said, Christopher's been found. He's cold and he's a little scratched up, but he's okay. And I think they said it that way so I wouldn't panic.
And she's got the frequency here.
Ray sent in an extrication team with a stretcher to help get the boy out.
He was rigid. We didn't even know whether he was alive or not. I don't know. It turns you inside out trying to hope that you can keep him alive after you found him. And that's a very, very scary time because we knew he was so close to death.
We'd asked on the radio, what more can we do? And, they said, keep talking to him, keep trying to reassure him, sing to him if possible. Asked if there was a favorite song, and Mother came back on the radio and said, When Saints Come Marching In was his favorite song. And it's a vision I always have of, the four of us, me in the sleeping bag and the others around, pretty scruffed up from a long night of searching, singing The Saints Go Marching In.
We're gonna be in that number when the saints come marching in. Oh, when the saints, oh, Christopher.
And it was a little bit after that his arms come around me and they give me this little hug. And it was just, oh God, I was feeling that got no words to describe.
Hiking through dense brush and rugged terrain, it took the extrication team almost 2 hours to reach the remote location where Christopher had been found.
Even though it was a very short distance, it took us an hour to get to the trail. And it just started to get light when we got to the trail.
Okay, watch your benches, guys.
It was as if he'd been gone for an eternity. And they were bringing him down, and people started crowding around. And I was kind of jumping up. Where is he? Where is he? How is he? And I couldn't get to him. But I was just so thankful that he was okay.
It was sort of this whirl of motion, and got up off the stretcher. Here's this woman who comes up and says, I'm Mom. And sort of collapsed into each other's arms. She started crying. I started crying. Most of the rescue base started crying. I sort of was left wandering around in a daze, kind of overwhelmed at all that had taken place, all that I had been a part of.
There aren't enough I love yous to say thank you for bringing Christopher back to me. If you could count I think if you put a thank you on all the stars in the sky, you might begin to cover what I feel about Jim Dixon. There aren't any words, I don't believe.
Christopher was treated in the ambulance for hypothermia, but he suffered no permanent injury from his 14-hour ordeal. Today, the Graves still enjoy the wilderness, but they have new family ground rules for whenever they go hiking.
Each child has his own backpack, which contains a candy bar, a flashlight, a compass. Every child and their parents have a whistle around the neck. And the one thing we've taught the children, if you get lost or separated from your group, stay still. Don't move. Stay right there. Sit down and wait for them to find you. Don't walk.
Jim Dixon has become a close friend of the family.
Chinese have an expression that when you save someone, you're responsible for them for life. And I have the same feelings about Christopher. The feelings that I have for Christopher are very strong, tremendous love, and a bond that will be with both of us for the rest of our lives.
Jim Dixon is a great guy, and he saved me from the cold. And Jim Dixon and I are buddies.
Next,
The scariest part is approaching the scene. You don't know where the assailant is, how determined he is that this victim is not